Welcome back then folks to day 3 of Special Projects pack number 18, and this one is a vehicle which I know intrigued a couple of you. A few of you will be familiar with the name Junior or the FIA side of the, in other words, racing GTA lineage, and of course the GTA participated in a whole bunch of racing, and the engine sizes varied quite a lot, the power varied quite a lot, all the way down from around 1300cc up around 2000cc, a bunch of 1750 kind of region as well. So for this one I was initially going to replicate some kind of real GTA version using, a community-based livery, as I often do, and replicate maybe a certain car from a certain era or a certain race. But the more I sifted through it and the more difficult it was to find the kind of accurate numbers to a certain car from a certain year, I thought, you know what, since it's impossible to get a car that will please everyone, why not make something that's a bit of a homogenized, almost Gran Turismo original race car version, which sort of covers a few of the different bases, which is why I've just called this a fairly generic 1300 FIA Junior. The Junior is on the 1300cc end of the spectrum, which of course you cannot do in this game. As you can see, I've actually gone the opposite way and made it closer to a 1750, but the funny thing is, this actually apparently has similar horsepower levels to what the Junior would have had from the 1300cc engine. So like I said, it's a bit of a mix and match. In terms of the visuals, I have done the livery myself. I've done 2 different versions, this one in Alfa Romeo red, and then another one in Alfa Romeo yellow. Both, of course, with the white spots, the cloverleaf, all that kind of iconic imagery, which, again, is, like I said, more of like a general kind of livery rather than some specific race-winning vehicle or that kind of stuff. So the idea behind this one, as you can kind of tell, is to fit your own livery if you want to, or fit one of the ones that I've done if you want that more kind of overall classic Alfa Romeo look. So it's very much a personalisable build, and as you can see at 450 points, it could be quite useful as well. For a basically 850 kilo car with 190 horses, that's quite a low point level, certainly with something as small and as nimble as this could be. Now, as far as the actual bits and bobs, if we jump to the Ultimate section first, we've got the high lift cams S, the titanium rods and pistons, and the bored out S engine, because of course a bunch of that cancels out lower versions. As far as the sports section, stage 1 weight of course, I actually opted to leave this one, even though it is a racing version, on comfort mediums. For 2 reasons. One, I thought, you know what, feels a bit more appropriate to the classic style, and of course I do play fast and loose with that in terms of what cars I do or don't fit accurate tyres to, but also more so because I wanted it to have a low point level, and then see how it could handle it on those tyres, and then if it doesn't need better tyres, we'll just leave it on that and kind of use that as an advantage. As it turns out, it's more than good enough on that. Now, as far as the other stuff here, of course, the bored out, the cams, all of that was covered by the Ultimate section. We've got the high compression pistons as well, the stage 2, of course, weight restriction as well. I haven't bothered with the power restrictor or the ballast. You don't need them for this one. As far as the semi-racing stuff, we've got the ECU, the racing crank, the fully customized diff. I've gone for the fully customized manual box, because of course you have kind of the best of both worlds. It has that old school racing feel with the adjustable ratios, but it also gives you an advantage on point level, so it's kind of, as I said, a best of both. No body rigidity on this one. It makes no difference to the points, so I guess you could do it if you wanted to. To me, it doesn't really feel like it needs it that much. Of course, stage 3 weight, as you can see. For the racing stuff, the polish ports, balance tuning, the stroked out engine, air filter, silencer, manifold, pads, and of course discs. You could go for drilled, you could go for slotted. I guess you could go for ceramics if you wanted to, but that's certainly not period correct looking. We've got the clutch and flywheel, the fully customized suspension. For the extreme stuff, the steering angle adapter, of course to help with the turn in as well. And of course we already covered the Ultimate section there. So if we jump back into the garage, as you can tell, and as I said earlier on, it is a bit of a mishmash of what it should have in terms of engine size versus what it could have in terms of power from the smaller engine, so don't expect it to be any kind of replica really, but at the end of the day you can't always make them perfect, so we have to work with what we've got. So, first of all, of course, we've got the comfort mediums. For the suspension, a bit of a difference, front and rear, 86 on the front, 96 on the back, 6 on the anti-roll, with 25 and 35 for the dampers, 2.95 on the springs, so very high on those. Little bit of a difference on camber, front and rear, 1, and then 0.5 on the back. No toe on the front, which is probably quite surprising for a build like this. 20 in on the back. As far as the diff, triple 20 is what I've gone for. Might not suit you, but give it a try, and obviously it's a 190-ish horsepower little classic Alfa Romeo, so it's not going to be the most unwieldy thing to drive anyway, so For me, I personally really like that diff setup. Give it a try and see what you think though. As far as the auto setting, relatively close ratios, up around like 160-ish miles an hour. That might be a bit too long to be honest, so give it a try. Change it if you want to. Of course, no power restriction. No ballast, no ECU restriction, nothing like that. As far as downforce, surprisingly, it doesn't have any. Usually you kind of have a bit built in with the wide body or the other modifications, but nothing this time around, which is actually quite a testament to how good the handling is if you think about it. And then over here, of course, everything which, especially down here, quite a hefty amount of stuff, which of course we did fit. Now we'll jump out to the track as always to show you what this little bruiser can do in practice. Now, like I said, it is that classic tiny, lightweight, not overly powerful, but certainly powerful enough approach to an Alfa Romeo. It's already a beloved car. Many players, myself included, love this thing when it was first added to the game. Since then I haven't used it a huge amount, to be honest, which I think we can say probably about quite a few of the cars, even the ones which we did like for the most part. But if you've got one lying around, or maybe if you do already have one and you want to make it into more of like a pure racer, I think you'll quite enjoy this one. And if you do for some reason need maybe a really low point level bruiser, like 450 points, then this could be a really good one to use, because it is properly quick. It's got a little bit of that kind of kick your tail out classic style of when you used to see a race car in old footage, kind of slipping the tail out and coming back in line again as the driver kind of wrestles it back. It's not that difficult to drive, but it definitely has a little bit of that kick, which is kind of nice. It's appropriate to the kind of personality and the character that a little old classic racer like this should have. It's a lot of fun, and of course if you do use it and win some events with it, I'd love to hear about it. I don't do a huge amount of lower level point stuff myself, but having a good car for a low point level could definitely come in handy if you need it. And of course, check out the other builds which we've both already done this week, and certainly the ones which are yet to come. But that's it for this build. I'll see you then, and thanks for watching.